Ending the call. Okay, so you want to end a client call by suggesting next steps. Sometimes a client will, it really, this is a personality thing. Sometimes you get on calls with clients and they know what they want, they know who they want, they've done this before. This is not their first rodeo. Some of them will take control of the call and you'll just be answering questions. However, I would say the majority of time, these clients don't always know how best to work with a freelancer. Maybe they haven't hired a freelance writer before. Maybe they've worked with writers via an agency. You always want to like gauge what their and that's in that questionnaire too that you're going to find in the module about what to ask them. Ask them what their experiences have been working with writers before. It will give you a treasure trove of information about what it's going to be like to work with them. If they haven't worked with a writer, you're going to have to do a lot of expectation setting, hand holding, and boundary drawing, where you are saying, this is how we're going to work together, which can be intimidating if you're not super experienced and you don't have that take charge personality. By understanding their experience working with other writers, you will know how much charge you have to take. Sometimes if the client is very like, they are going to call the shots, you won't have to do what I'm saying right now. But from my experience, the type of people who go into marketing and who hire writers don't tend to be super headstrong, take charge, charge ahead, unless you're working for a CEO type who is used to being very outspoken and dominating. They probably are going to let you determine, next steps and how to work with you. Also, remember, we are not employees, we are service providers. So it is totally natural for this step to come about because you're explaining your process, your working process to the client. So end this call by suggesting next steps and don't be afraid to take the lead here. This is just like a little script for you. Typically, how I work with clients is we get started on a test project. I send you my invoice. I'll send you a scope of work. As soon as I get that back from you, we can start working together. What I just did right there is something called assuming the sale. And it's pretty much when you intentionally assume that the customer has already said yes to the sale, the deal, the conversation. For example, assuming the sale could be like if a salesperson says to somebody, okay, that sounds great. Give me your credit card information. I'll get that paperwork started and so you see what I'm saying? And obviously we don't say things like that as freelance clients. We don't take credit card numbers over the phone. So use that word typically. It's a little bit softer. Typically, how I work with clients is I'll send you an invoice and I'll send you a scope of work. As soon as you sign that and get that back to me, we can start a test project. You want to kind of take control of the conversation and almost suggest like, okay, so I'm assuming everything is good. We're jiving here. Now you want to wrap up that conversation and say, this is how we move forward. And you're not going to get anything but a yes, unless the conversation has gone terribly and you somehow didn't pick up on that. And they'll probably say to you, well, here's some of the most common pushback you'll get. Well, we're evaluating a few other writers, so we'll get back to you, or, oh, let me take this back to my boss and see if we can get budget approval on this. So you'll hear like objections like that. There's nothing you can do about it. This isn't a hard sell. So you're not going to be like, oh, well, I don't think you should talk to your boss about that because this is going to be valuable. Like it's not. You got to kind of, after you suggest next steps, then you have to take a step back and let them tell you the deal, because this is definitely not a high pressure sale. You are not going to just like persuade your way, which is kind of a relief, to be honest. Like, I don't want to use scarcity tactics and closing techniques in a conversation with a client. This is actually just a very like casual back and forth where you're determining whether they're a fit for you and vice versa. It's not high pressure, it's not salesy. It's just like, hey, let's get on a call. Let's hear about what you're working on and let's determine if this would be a good fit. And when you think of it that way, your confidence really will go up too, because you're like, there's no pressure here. Like, this client could be totally wrong for me. I'm just getting on a call and figuring out whether or not they are. So when you suggest next steps, what you're really doing is kind of showcasing your confidence to the client. You're letting them know that they can trust you, that you are in control, and that you know how to get the job done.